Welcome back to the Chris Shannon Podcast. I'm Chris. I'm here with Kevin Illich. He is a newer agent here in the Columbus market. Kevin, I don't really have much that we didn't really prepare anything. That's just not how we do stuff here. So, how long you been in real estate? What got you into real estate? How are you enjoying it? Just give us kind of a rundown and we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for having me for one. Yeah. I really appreciate, being able to come on the show. Been in real estate for 10 months, got my realtor's license. Just kind of born out of I was interested in this space. Actually worked at a church, was a pastor for 7 years before that, and moved on from that and kind of had a space where I was exploring what it was that I was going to be doing. And so always wanted to get my realtor's license, figured that it'd be a good thing to have either way. So went through the schooling, got my hours, sat for the test, and got licensed in February, and things just kind of took off. So I was working another full-time job at the time, a W-2, and just left that, started on my own full-time in November of this year in 2022, and it's been a crazy ride. So I've done about 6 fix and flips so far, which has been
in the last 10 months.
Yep, in the last 10 months, which has been great. Trying to learn what it is that I do and don't like. I love the relationship aspect of real estate, meeting people, helping them through the process, buying, selling, all those things. So it's been a great ride.
Cool. So we've done a couple videos recently on what it takes to get started in real estate. So you said you went through the classes, sat for the test, trying to figure out the relationship, which I love that you said, because we got these video monkeys back here that we were calling them earlier, and they were asking me yesterday, what's real estate about? And they said it's really about cultivating the relationships with people, and the other stuff comes with it. But for anybody that's watching, because we were just talking before this, how we're a new brokerage and we're looking to help give back. I don't necessarily want to sell. I want to be here for my agents, all that kind of stuff. So kind of go through your experience of classes, licensing, your first 10 months. How has that been? Because I don't think people don't understand that part of it, because it can be very lonely if you're not on a team or you don't have a helpful broker or stuff like that. So just kind of hit on that so they can understand it, because they hear me talk about it.
Yeah.
But
I think it's important to find someone who you align with, as far as having a sponsoring broker to take you through the process. I'll start with that, because I think that might be the most, I had a great one who got me started, and she was wonderful and helped me through the process. But so much of it, I think, is having a mentor or finding someone who you connect with relationally, who you can call and ask all your questions, because you're going to have so many questions. Mm-hmm. Just like anything you go to school for, you have, here's the things we learn in school, and then here's how it actually goes out in the field.
Right.
And so,
don't hit the table, by the way. Video monkeys get mad about that.
Yeah, but I think I think having that relationship is crucial, first and foremost. And there's so many different realtors out there, so many different brokerages, that finding someone you align with, I think, matters most. The actual schooling part of it, you're right, it can get lonely. And I think the people who don't psych themselves out by the time they sit for their test, take their test, just like any schooling experience, you get it done, you do what you have to do, you learn as best you can, study what you need to for the test, and then the real work starts when you get in the field. So I think that the most intimidating part is you get your license, and it's like, here we go.
Yep.
Blank slate. You have no leads. You have, it's just time to go and time to hustle. And that's where you really realize that here's a business where you're selling yourself, right? And you're selling yourself to the people in your sphere at first, the people who are closest to you. And that's a hard thing to do. You go and you're like, I've never sold a house before. I've never helped anybody buy a house, but here's why you should work with me. Mm-hmm. And that's an interesting sell. So
what's been your most successful strategy so far? 10 months in.
Yeah, so I'm pretty active on social media as far as short form video. Okay. That's been, I think, a game changer for me building clientele. As far as it helps you build trust with people.
Right.
Whether I'm talking about, if you're a first time home buyer, here's the 3 things you should you should be
What are
discovering.
they? Tell everybody.
Yeah.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah,
What do
for
you know?
sure. Well, I have so much to say, but I'll get there. But just to answer the first question is the idea of you have to build trust with people. You have to. This is the biggest asset that most people have in their lives is their real estate.
100%.
And so, if you work with me, I hope that you trust me to walk you through the process and execute on what you need done. And so that's realizing that's a hard sell, and so you have to put, hundreds and thousands of dollars into whatever you can do in order to build trust with people at scale. And so I think there's all those things, reaching out to your sphere, that helps you get started, and that's absolutely how I got my first couple deals.
Okay.
I think social has been huge for me, and then what is I think a harder avenue to go down, but I think helps you gain even more of that trust with your clients, is buying real estate yourself.
Absolutely. I think it's extremely difficult to help somebody buy or sell if you've never bought or sold yourself. I've had team members who have been in that position, and I remember them complaining about buyers or sellers, and then they went through the process and like, holy crap. And I'm like, see, now you understand exactly what you're complaining about this, but you've never been through the process.
You're so right. It's a way to make mistakes on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You learn on your own.
Right.
And you learn, and I'm talking mostly about investment properties, whether you can buy a rental or whether you can gather the funding to fix and flip a house, or whatever your situation is, you can do that without $40,000 in your bank account.
Right.
You can. And it helps you, it gives you such an advantage because it helps you talk the talk. You've walked the walk. You know the ins and outs of your numbers. You know how to walk your clients through, okay, here's what this interest rate means. Here's what there's so many things it gives you an advantage on. And I said it this way, I did a video on this, is that if we're selling real estate, or we're selling the idea of transacting real estate with us, then if we believe in what we sell as far as our business, then we better be transacting in real estate.
Right.
And so you have, over the past couple, here's my separator, I think, for newer agents, is over the past couple of years, you've had agents who have really done super well in the market where things are selling in 20 minutes.
As an order taker.
Exactly.
We've talked about that. I talk to my agents about that all day. We are coming into a skills market, and people don't understand. Here in Columbus, we'll be a little bit insulated from some of the stuff that's happening for sure with Intel and low inventory and interest rates hopefully coming down a little bit, but we're now in a skills inventory where you can't just throw a sign in the yard and later you'll have 20, 25 offers on the house, or you're a representative buyer. Okay, Mr. Buyer, what do you want to offer? How far do you want to go over? How much do you want to guarantee over? And then you know what? How long do you want to let these people live in your house after you close?
Yeah.
It's a market that's changing rapidly, and it changed rapidly from like May to July. Yeah. And it's continued to change since.
This whole year, and they say 30 days is the market cycle. Every 30 days it changes, and there's been drastic changes, like you said. You're so right. We did a deal. The first kind of time I saw all that play out, I listed a house in Reynoldsburg. It was a flip, and I think it was right around the time where interest rates started.
May. Happened to me, flipping Gehanna.
Yeah.
Put out $242,000, made $900 because the interest rates like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, just it was overnight. The mood in our market changed. I'm sure every market, but we ended up doing a deal. We had very little interest on this house. The gentleman who was selling it didn't need this. Like didn't know. I don't know. If I sell it, it has to be for this number. Okay, was kind of his approach, and so we listed it. Had very little interest. Price was a little high, but not out of the realm of possibility. I'm talking about a house that 30 days before would have sold for $30,000 over asking.
Right.
And we ended up coming together. And if you can solve problems in this business, you'll make money. And the problem is that we had somebody walk through. I call everybody who shows the house for feedback and to see if there's any reason that they wouldn't offer on the house. And 90% of the time, it's just not a good fit for that buyer. But 10% of the time, it's like, yeah. And this was the situation for this house. We really love the house. Just they're not going to buy anything without a privacy fence. And I'm thinking,
It's an easy thing to fix.
yeah. I'm like, well, we'll put in a privacy fence.
Right.
Yeah, but the other thing was we just don't love the driveways in rough shape. And so we ended up coming together where, we just solved the problems. Girls
I
were
love that
saying,
you said that, because I tell a lot of people, like, what do I do for a living? I solve problems.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer, and I posted it before on social media, and it made some of my friends mad that I said it, but I believe generally in life, the bigger problems you solve, the more money you get paid. Now, it doesn't hold true for everything, but especially in real estate, the bigger the problem you solve, the better you get paid. So I love that you said that. So I want to throw some stats at you and see if you know this, since you're a newer agent, 10 months in, right? I don't know if you know this. I just found out some of these stats the other day. So I'm part of the Independent Brokers Association here in Columbus, because TSG, we're an independent broker. We're not a national franchise, anything like that. Just little old me doing the things that I do. There's a guy in there who's been doing this for 30 years. He said 65% of agents who take their test will pass their test. The other 35% will not. Now, you probably did Hondros, I would assume, as well.
Yep.
Hondros has a huge rate of pass, like 98%, I think, when I took it 10 years ago or whatever. They said of that 65%, 80 of those 100 people will be out of businesses within 2 years.
Yeah.
When I was going through it was 3 years. I remember Kushbal. If you took online classes, or even if you didn't, he sat there and he said, look around, look to your right and left, because only one of you people are going to be here when you of sitting here. So then, one step further, out of those 20 people, take that up to 100. 2 out of that 100 people will make a full-time living out of real estate.
wow.
I have
2 out of 100.
2 out of the 100 that are still in.
Wow.
So you're thinking, at that point, 400 people have failed, 100 people have made it. 2 of those people will make a full-time living, and that's the one that got me, because I've been lucky enough to make a full-time living out of this. And I don't know what they constitute as a full-time living. It could be 40,000, it could be 50,000.
Right.
So I don't know if you have ever heard that. I'm sure you heard the first 2 stats, maybe not the very first one, but definitely the 80 out of 100, I'm sure, within 2 years. But that last one, what does that say to?
Yeah. It makes total sense, and I'll tell you why. Is because it's inherently entrepreneurial what we do, and
nobody's sitting there telling you make your calls, do this, do that.
And if that's the type of person you are, then there's a lot of other great professions for you.
Right.
And then this might not be it. But with there's a great reward when you do put the grind in and the hustle in. Making a, 8, 15, 3, whatever $1,000 commission check is a great feeling. And there's so many possibilities. And then the longer you get into it, the more people you meet, the more relationships you build, you realize that there's a 1,000 ways to make money in real estate,
right,
and to make a good living. And it's just difficult, and this, you're selling yourself, and that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's really hard, that might be underrated with the generation coming up, is you got to answer your phone.
Yeah.
And if you don't like to talk on the phone, and if you don't like to make calls,
not anymore.
You know what I mean? But it's near impossible to build your business. So
I'm sure that then you've heard the term speed to lead.
Oh yeah.
So I remember, and I think I even told these guys, they're behind the camera right now, this yesterday, like my first year, I told you this earlier, first year full time, 56 deals by myself, no help, anything. And it was literally Zillow leads, Realtor.com, when they were still good.
You're right.
They're not good anymore.
Yeah,
in my
buying
opinion.
leads, yeah.
But we'd be sitting at our dinner table in Reynoldsburg, and I can see it vividly. I can see the backsplash, I can see the cabinets, I can see my kids, I can see the food, I can see the table. Phone call comes in, I look at my wife, she knows exactly what I'm going to go do. I'm going to sit on that front stoop and answer that phone call because it's a lead, it's speed to lead, and it still blows my mind the amount of people who told me, you're the first agent out of 6 that have picked up.
Yeah.
Or if I couldn't get to it, I call back within 5 minutes. You're the only agent that's ever called me back. And it's something so simple, but it's something that drastically can change the course of your business. That is literally how I did 56 deals in 1 year by myself in my first year. It's just that speed to lead type thing, and answering and following up and cultivating that relationship with those people.
I think that I don't know if this is kind of some shrapnel from the last 3 years of the market, but I think a lot of realtors have just been so busy, and I'm not sure what I'm trying to say other than agreeing with what you're saying, is that a huge differentiator, and it's so crazy that this is true, but like you said, answer your phone. Speed the lead. You answer your phone, and that's what differentiates you from everybody. Hey, we've won deals, many deals, because we were there first. Mm-hmm. Not even just to pick up the phone and to get the client, but hey, here's an example from that we just closed on one of these deals. There was a client who's buying a $650,000 house in Buckeye Lake, and it was still hot out there.
Can't believe how expensive this house is.
Oh, it was hot. And so they sent one to me on a Tuesday. Buckeye Lake's 50 minutes from me. And they sent me on a Tuesday. I said, let's go tonight. They're like, Are you sure it's blown dry for you? I'm like, no, I'm sure. Let's go tonight. We went that night, put in an offer that night. So I'm up till, by the time I drove there, showed the house, came back, figured out the terms, called the agent, wrote the offer. It's 11:30 p.m. Well, at 8 o'clock, they accepted our offer at 8 o'clock the next morning. And then at 10 o'clock, they got a full price cash offer.
If you wouldn't have done all of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you. There's a whole summer that I kept myself in this business because I did open houses. I knew my market. I knew the house I held open, and I knew everything around it. And if you came to my open house, I was gonna say, did you see this one? Did you see this one? Oh, you didn't? Do you have an agent? No, you don't? Okay, let's go see these right after I'm done.
Right now.
And that's how I gain traction, knowing your market, speak, like just everything you're talking about.
You want to tell all the agents listening what an open house is?
If you don't know what an open house is, you better get out of the business. I'll tell you that much.
I haven't had to do them for a couple of years.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, agents, this past market we've been in for the last 2 to 3 years. I know you've only been in 10 months. It wasn't without its own challenges.
Right.
There was a ton of challenges. We had to shift on that, but the ease of what it was to get somebody in contract then, whether it was a listing or a buyer, and I say ease even with buyers and trying to beat out 30 offers. Like, if you get an agent to tell you what the best offer was, you had about a 90% chance of winning that offer.
Yeah.
And that's what we explained to all of our agents was, hey, call that agent. Mm-hmm. See, what will they give you? What will they tell you? If they won't tell you anything, who cares? It is what it is, but you got to relay that to your buyer. But as a listing agent, I'm going to tell you everything I have. In my listing appointment, I was sitting there, buyer, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, let me tell the agents exactly what you have on the table, because that's only going to make your offer better in this. And I think it was last year, we had a run from May to September, about 20 listings. And we made our clients doing that exact thing. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, let me tell these agents what we have. We made them over $1 million extra.
Oh, yeah.
Between everybody.
Why wouldn't you?
Exactly. And it's just, it's called co-op for a reason. Mm-hmm. You can co-op and make sure your seller or your buyer's interests are in the right place.
Absolutely.
But, so, one thing I want to touch on before we're done, because we're getting in the weeds a little bit.
Yeah.
But we talked about being brand new, going through the process. Explain for any of new agents that might be watching, because that's kind of where we're looking to get in front of. I want to talk to new agents because I want to train them. I want to show them how to get here. I want to show them how to get into investing. But before that, class to practicality of real estate. How much different is that? Because I don't think people understand that.
Yeah, I don't think to be honest with you, the actual practice of running the business, I don't know if I got much of it in the schooling. Mm-hmm. A lot of the schooling, I think, helps you lock in what you have to know in order to practice. Mm-hmm. So 2 different skills, that was my experience. You have to know, how the different ways that you can title a property. You have to know your obligation as an agent. I mean, these are all things, especially if you want to get into the more creative side of real estate.
You have to know how many square feet are in an acre.
Yes, exactly.
Which you'll never use.
Exactly. I've already forgotten that, which is great.
It's 43,000, something like 655 feet, something like that.
That's what I was going to say.
I like that.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Sounds right.
Exactly, yeah. But, I think that it's 2 different skills. You have to have one to do the other.
Yeah.
But you're probably thinking, take what you've learned, and it's time to hustle and grind and call and sell and advertise and market. I think one of the biggest tips, I think, too, and this is why I actually got into buying my own real estate, is One of the best examples, one of the best pieces of advice I was ever given was, you have to, and you have to do this in the most tasteful way possible, is you have to appear busy.
Yeah.
So everything that you do in real estate, whether you're making cold calls, whether you're, you have to document it, and I do it on social. So if I'm going to show a property, I'm advertising that I'm showing a property. Mm-hmm. Every time I have a property that I have in contract, or if I list a property, that's 3 social media posts for me. That's a list, an in contract, and a sold.
Right.
Every time that I'm doing something, I'm showing it, and people want to work with people who are active in this space. And so what you might think that you don't have much to document as a new agent, but every time you're cold calling, one of the things that I wish I would have done more of is I bought a camera just like the one we have right there, and I went around and I asked agents who had listings, the nicest listings that were out there, and I called them. I was like, hey, I'm a new agent and I want to show your property. I want to create a 30-second video just to do a property tour.
That's so funny. We tried to do that this summer because my wife and I were looking. I had one agent that told me I could do it. And what'd we look at, Zane? We looked at like 8 properties that day?
If not more.
Yeah. And there was only one agent, and the only reason is because she was from my old brokerage and she knew me, and she knew that I would, give her the credit and all that kind of stuff. It blew my mind. I had one agent say just outright no.
Yeah.
I had one agent say, well, why don't you do that with new builds? And I'm like, I'm trying to help you as well, because what we were doing is we were paying for it. We were going to give them a video branded with their stuff. So yeah, that's a great thing. What I will tell you that I learn, and I think, and I could be wrong, but this is what I think at some point in your career, instead of showing that you're in contract or sold this house or that house, I think that's going to wear on people.
Oh, for sure.
And I think you have to turn it to, like I tell these guys, I think we have a 12 to 18 month window right now where agents are going to be dropping out. There's market share to be gained. Be that market knowledge person.
Yes.
And that goes back to when I started knowing every house that was in the area. I had my Zillow leads, my realtor leads were in Reynoldsburg. I picked that specifically because I could go to Blacklick, I could go to Pickerington, I could go to Canal Winchester, I could get in Gahanna. I knew everything in Reynoldsburg and everything in those 4 spots, and that is where I staked my claim, was on the east side because of that. And now you have the chance to do that over the next 12 to 18 months, explaining interest rates, explaining market shifts, all that kind of stuff, but doing it over video and social media.
Oh, yeah.
And if you do that, I think you're going to gain so much market share with everything else that you're doing.
You're so right, and I think that's been the fruitful content of what I've posted. I don't know if you've seen this. You have this generational difference between kind of old guard realtors and new guard realtors, and you have, not saying these things don't work. They clearly work, and they've worked for years. But there's such a low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
For new agents, like no longer do you have to buy 3 billboards on the, or buy advertising on the shopping carts at the stores, or put your face in the paper. Those things help. If you can do them, do them.
Right.
But there's so much free media out there.
Yeah.
That if you can spend $800 and buy a camera, or just do it on your phone, at the very, just start and start making content.
Preach.
Here we go. And just start and get out there. My goal right now is I'd love to post 3 forms of content, or 3 short form videos on all my different platforms every day. We're at 1, so the strategy is how can we get it to 3?
Yeah.
And the more the merrier. So I could go on and on about that, but there's so much opportunity. Like you said, the next 6 to 18 months, or
12 to 18 months.
We're here right now.
Right,
right now we're here.
Everything you do now will affect your first quarter.
Oh yeah, what's it? The 90-day cycle.
Yep.
The 90-day, and I wonder that stat you had, the 2 out of 100 agents, will be doing this full time. I think this is
make a full-time living.
Make a full-time living. Yeah. This is going to be one of the greatest, times of people leaving the industry. Mm-hmm. It's been one way for the past 3 years, and we're entering.
Did you see the stat? And we'll wrap this up here shortly, but I'm a big numbers person. I love stats. I love it takes on average 40 conversations to get that one sale. So if you want to do 73 sales, you got to have over 2,800 conversations. How many days in the month, in the weeks, and all that kind of stuff do you want to work? So I found this amazing. I believe there's 1.8 million realtors nationwide, right? as of August when I saw this, the first 6 months, over 800,000 agents had not sold a single home
Wow.
for the first 6 months of this year in the market that we had.
Wow.
And there's so many small things like that you could do that could have kept you out of that that agents don't do. Like that's almost 50% of the agents that are in the business did not sell a house for 6 months. In all you had to do was get a listing and throw a sign. You didn't even have to throw a sign in the yard. You just had to put it on the MLS. So it's mind blowing. I think that just goes back to what you have to do. It's not just you throw a sign in the yard. Like a little bit this last few years, but even then it wasn't that easy. So I appreciate you coming in and sitting down with us. It was a great talk. I think you're going to do really, really good things. I think you have a very, well, I'm biased. I think you think a lot like me, which I like, obviously.
That's good.
But that's
Hey,
not,
I'll take it, man. I'll take anything.
hey, there's all sorts of different ways to be successful in this business. Like I said, what we do does not necessarily mean that's what you have to do. I just think it's a great way to do it. We're big on relationships and giving back and helping and all that kind of stuff. So definitely appreciate you coming in.
Thank you,
and
sir.
Hope to we'll talk to you here again soon.
Appreciate it.
Cool. Guys, don't forget to like, share, follow, comment. Let us know if you have questions. If you're an agent that is seeing this, you're new, you're older, whatever, if you want to give me a call, talk about real estate, if you want to jump on here and talk about real estate with us, just let us know. We'll see you next time.